Welcome to the Everyday GSD podcast. Today's special guest is Greg Stube. We were just at the Special Forces Convention, as you can see right here, and we're in my home studio right now. And Greg Stube, he enlisted in the U.S. Army Infantry in 1988. He retired as an E7, Green Beret, 23 years active duty. He is a author of Conquer Anything, a Green Beret guide to building your A-team. He went to foreign language training school to speak Russian. He received additional skills training in dive medical technical at the Special Forces Underwater Operation Facility in Key West, Florida. We all love Key West. He's also SEER qualified, Master Parachutist badge awarded to him, and of course, Green Beret. The left is wrong. I'm a warrior, not a victim. Greg Stube is a badass, and I'm excited for you guys to hear his story. We're going to talk about your book, Conquer Anything, but I really want to talk about your journey going into the military, what made you do that, and obviously 23 years active duty as a Green Beret. You've traveled around the world. You've done a lot of operations in different places. You speak Russian. You were in Bosnia. You did a tour in Afghanistan. There's a lot of information that you have that I think, as the show Everyday GSD Get Shit Done, you can explain to people how you operate on a daily basis and how you can share your stories with individuals so they can get shit done.
Well, and that's what I hope to do with the book, and what I do each day is to demystify Special Forces and show that the things that make us good at what we do, like, if you see a movie about special ops, it's going to be SEALs. And it's true that SEALs can do things that Green Berets can't do. They don't teach us how to make movies in the Green Berets. So
I love it.
That's good. Where's Jesse?
No kidding.
No kidding. Wait, hold on. I got a laugh button somewhere here, and I don't know which one it is.
That's not it. There we go.
I have to do that. I had to do that. That's fucking good. Yeah.
But at the end of the day, if what you did for a job today could get you killed,
right,
then I bet you're willing to practice more. And I bet you're willing to even spend your own money on gear that'll help you come home to your family safe. And
right.
And so we have advantages in planning and decision making and training, and because we have to take it that seriously. But the average person each day doesn't have to look at it that way, so they don't really develop some of the finer skills for communicating, for planning, for whatever. But we do have that advantage. But at the end of the day, I don't think any of it's really military. I think it's just human out of necessity. Because any job that would have stakes that high, it would make you want to get better, right?
100%. Yeah. And that's a great statement. I think it's important what you just said. We can go to the 9 to 5 every day and just, for lack of a better word, punch the clock, as opposed to going to the 12 to 24 every day, where bullets are flying by your head, or there's so much opportunity for death at the end of the day, or that you're not going to finish the day. And that's a job that you did for 23 years full force.
Yeah. And I got to be honest with you, this stuff didn't just come to me. It wasn't natural or normal. I was emotionally immature with a giant ego, but I wound up in the hospital for over a year. I had 17 surgeries to think about it.
17 surgeries.
Yeah.
So what happened, if you mind?
I got blown up, man. I got hit by an IED, and a lot of penetrating injuries and third-degree burns, and I lost over half my intestines, and I don't look good naked, I'll tell you that much.
But you look good right now, and you're alive.
Yeah, baby. Right? That's right. That's right. Yeah. But it wasn't until I was down for the count, only when I figured out that I would never go back to the A-team, did I start figuring out how I should have been doing it.
And I've heard of several of you individuals, and I reference you individuals as some serious hardcore Green Berets. When you mention the A-team, that's the A-team. It legit is the A-team.
Well, that's our functional unit, our functional element.
Yeah.
Operational detachment alpha is known as the A-team.
Is the A-team. Are you showing me a picture?
Yeah, I want to show you.
Yeah.
Because it was a hard day at the office, and a lot of people say they got hurt, and
it's
they did.
It's a hard day at the office. Holy shit. I'm gonna have you send me this picture. Yeah, I gotta hold on one second, Justin. You gotta see this.
I don't want to.
No, you do. You
I'm
do.
kidding.
You do.
I should actually. My God.
And scroll through them. Scroll through the other pictures. You'll see more.
And we're not paused right now. We're still live. I'm looking.
Yeah,
I'm looking at
that's okay.
I'm looking at some pictures here. Well, you know what? I'm happy you're here right now, brother.
It's cool, isn't it?
Yeah. Well, cool's a strong word, right?
It's good stuff, man.
It's cool that you're here and you're here to share the story. Do you want to talk about that before we unpack anything else? Why don't you explain to the audience what happened? Because I'm going to put those pictures up somehow on the screen. But walk me through that day. Just another day at the office, as you said.
Well, it was a part of Operation Medusa in Afghanistan, and we had 3 A teams together. We were launching up the middle to flush out enemy that would be squashed by a larger NATO force, allegedly.
Allegedly, right?
And of course our intel was spot on. And, and you wind up surrounded,
Right.
by what becomes over 1,000 Taliban.
1,000. How many of you were there?
30 Green
30,
Berets.
yeah.
We had a few ANA.
About 30 of you and just about 1,000 of them.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's fair. That's
30 of us Green Berets. And
Yeah.
we ran out of ammo 4 times. And, that's a fear-producing moment.
Yeah.
Each time and each day. So for me, I only made it through 5 days of the fight.
Only 5 days.
Yeah, the rest of the team had to fight for 10 days just to get through to the end of it and secure that objective. But I was wounded on the 5th day, and I got blown up by an IED on the final objective area, climbing the hill just to support teammates who were pinned down on the other side.
Right.
Didn't make it to the top of the hill and changed my life forever. I wasn't as tough as I thought I was.
Right.
Everything that I'd spent a couple decades building, developing, honing, it didn't stand the test. None
Right.
of it. And we should know this, that we can become a grease spot in the road in 2 seconds. But I don't think I had accepted that. And I really thought I was great until, the good Lord gave me enough to knock that chip off my shoulder.
Right.
He said, "Sit down, boy."
Yeah. and he smiles as he tells the story. It's fucking wild, right, Justin?
No, it's great. It's great to, okay, so number one, on a grand scheme, on a scale, it's awesome to have the opportunity to go and fight for your country, to be a trusted guardian for that freedom, right?
Right.
And then face the enemy, fight like hell, and come home alive to be a citizen in a place that you swore was worth dying for, but you didn't have to die.
Right.
And other people did, so there's some guilt associated with that, but there's honor in it. And so I don't have to regret any of it. I knew that these things could happen because by the time I raised my right hand, how many tens of thousands of soldiers had died from making the same decision?
Right.
But I did it anyway. And
Knowing what you might be able to get, what might happen to you.
absolutely. So I had to accept that as a part of it. And what kind of a hypocrite would it make me to betray the honor that it took to raise my right hand in those conditions in the first place by becoming a victim somehow, as though if it happens to me, it changes the game?
Right.
No, I couldn't let that happen. But on an individual basis, there was a lot of work I had to do to learn how to live again.
Right.
And it would start with me learning to do the one thing no one ever taught me to do, and that was surrender. Because I had not surrendered to faith or love or compassion or a better definition of service. Because I had not surrendered to faith or love or compassion or a better definition of service.
Right.
But laying in a hospital bed when you go from Green Beret to people wiping your butt 15 times a day,
Right.
it'll humble you, and you start
Yeah.
to learn what service really is, serving something greater than yourself. And believe it or not, you can be a Green Beret or a SEAL or any of these things and simply be serving yourself, because it's all about your identity, your reputation. And we drive into it like that with an ego sometimes.
Right.
And sometimes it's our survival mechanism, right? Like,
but it's important to have, in the special forces or the special forces community, it is important that the individuals that are going there have the ego to some degree of, you know what, I'm unstoppable. You know, I'm here to protect the people back in the United States, or I'm here to protect and serve for my country, right?
yes, absolutely. But the ego, you know, I found that ego eats brains. And
Right.
and it can be the worst thing that ever happened to us. The same things that make us successful on the teams and in battle, they drive us to die alone on an island one day.
Right. Yeah.
Because we're assholes to each other, especially people we love, you know, and no one gets it. No one understands the standards and the risks you don't know how bad things can get, but I do. So nobody gets to have fun as long as I'm around.
Right? It's so true, right? That's what's over there going, shit, we're gonna unpack this one, aren't we? Yeah. No, it's so true. So you joined in 1988. You were 17, 18 years old?
19.
19 years old. You said to yourself, you know what, I want to be Rambo. I mean, what made this decision for you at a 18, 17, 16-year-old kid that at 19 years old you're going to go in and be one of the most elite individuals in the military, Green Berets, Army, you know,
Dude,
the A-team.
It's so awesome that you named Rambo, because Rambo was the biggest thing going when I joined. You know, there was no war going on in
Right.
'88.
Yeah.
Ronald Reagan was president, and everything was red, white, and blue, and awesome. And you know, it's important that I mention that these days, in the last 20 years, right, it hasn't been like that. People who have signed up, they signed up. When you turn on the TV, you see the faces of dead people that made that same decision.
Right.
It wasn't like that when I joined. So I can't act like I was so awesome to make that decision.
Oh, you wanted the knife. Look at me, kind of.
I still
You're
have
not
mine.
wrong.
I still have my Rambo knife.
Yeah, I mean, I've talked to several Green Berets. Obviously, we're at a Green Beret convention, so I mean, this. If you want to talk to Green Berets or you want to be in the safest place in the United States,
Yeah,
come here right now, because I can tell you, I've never. This is the only. This has nothing to the show, but I've got to share this. It's the only place I've ever been where I've left all my stuff. we have over thousands and thousands of dollars worth of equipment here, and when we leave at night, we just walk away. And you know what? Nothing's ever changed in here except someone keeps cleaning my coffee mug, which I don't drink coffee. It's either water or a little cocktail. But this is the only thing that ever happens here. That's how safe this place is because of all of you fucking guys. And I say that with much, much respect.
Oh, no, it's one team, though. One team, all of us.
Yeah.
Which is one of the biggest reasons that I do what I do, or I wrote the book, or I feel a need to say anything at all, is that I wasn't good at recognizing how important the greater team is, and how important it is that we don't neglect our support networks. Because when things are going great, we don't need anybody.
Right.
But the minute you have needs and things aren't going great, we really need each other. And I didn't know it. And here's an example. I mentioned running out of ammo on the battlefield in Afghanistan.
Right.
My whole career, I didn't give a damn where that ammo came from. You people in the rear with the gear, you better have it right. If that's all you do, you better at least fucking get that right.
Yeah, that's your job.
But run out of ammo on the battlefield and see what thoughts cross your mind. Oh my God, who is this? Who got this ammo to me so quickly? This is awesome. I love you guys. I don't know you. Wherever you are, these master ammo fairies in the sky. I don't know where it came from, but suddenly it was very important. And then I got to meet one that was packing ammo at Kandahar Airfield. And he approached me with tears in his eyes, knowing who I was. But I didn't know who he was.
Okay.
And it wasn't long. He was shedding a tear. And as he tried to explain to me, now we were both shedding tears together at a retail store in Fayetteville. And this guy told me, he said, "Sarge, I'm so glad you're alive. We were afraid the worst was going to happen. I'm sorry you got hurt, but we had 10 guys packing up this pallet of ammo, and half of us were bleeding because we were doing it in our underwear and flip-flops." And I'm like, "So why do you people pack ammo naked?" And he's like, "You know, you got the metal banding material, the wooden pallets, the heavy ammo cans." He said, "When we got the word, we were scared to death that you would die if we wasted 1 second to get dressed." And as he's struggling through tears to try and tell me this, I realized something important, that he had loved me the whole time, and I had never loved him.
That's deep.
Yeah.
I think the show's over. That's it. That's the lesson, right?
Well, I mean, I hope
Yeah.
we can learn from it,
Yeah.
because it sucks that I know I lived my life not loving him when he had loved me without ever even meeting me.
Right.
So, and I think that's the premise for the best team we can have, is to not wait. Don't wait to figure out how much we need each other. Let's just, if especially if it's someone you think you don't like,
Right.
the way we are, selfish creatures, we don't recognize the good in other people anyway until there's something in it for us. So we're already wasting the opportunity to build the kind of team we could have.
Right.
And I guarantee when someone saves your ass in a crisis, it's going to be the turd you've been talking trash about for a long time.
So stop talking trash, right?
And then you got to eat crow, you got to regret it, and suddenly there'll be an awesome dude. Look at this champion that saved me. But really the only thing that changed in that moment is they didn't become great just then. You figured out that they were great the whole time, but only because there's something in it for you. And I'm guilty as charged, and I don't want to do that anymore.
Right.
Yeah. The guy that I hated the most in the Army ever was the one that saved my life. And then he died there. And if I'd seen the absolute commonalities we had from the start, it would feel different now. But I judged him, kept him at a distance. I hated him.
But today, this day, as a retired Green Beret, you're sharing this story, you know, and you have the Killed in Action bracelet. You share this story, but you've learned from that. And this is when we talk about everyday GSD, right? This is an opportunity, you sharing this story to individuals that are listening, where their pettiness or their naiveness, their lack of maturity, or their forced judgment by their mentality is a wrong way about going at life, and we're witnessing this as, you know, you've got this book, and we're going to talk about this, Conquering Anything, but just this message alone. When you talk about the opportunity or the learning lesson for yourself, you share that with others, and hopefully when they listen to this, they think back and go, you know what? Why am I hating this individual, or why am I treating this individual? Why am I doing that? And for the listeners, it's a Killed in Action bracelet. And if you don't mind, read the bracelet to the you can read it off, just for the individuals that are watching this show right now.
Yeah, this is for Sergeant First Class Riley Stevens, 1st of the 3rd Special Forces Group. He was killed in action 28 September 2012 in Afghanistan.
And you wear that bracelet, and I obviously I'm very familiar with why we wear them,
of course.
But for the audience, why do you wear that bracelet?
Well, I wear this bracelet, and I have to explain it sometimes because some people think that I'm showing sympathy for him. But he would come he would come back from the dead and choke my ass out if he thought I had sympathy for him.
Good for him.
Yeah, good for him. Yeah. I'm actually looking around.
Yeah, like, uh-oh.
He's fucking coming. Yeah.
'Cause my dad always told me, if you want sympathy, just look in the dictionary between shit and syphilis. That's where you're going to find it. And that was the only place I could ever go to get it, you know. So, no, I wear a bracelet for him, and I have a bowl with about 13 others bracelets in it. But I wear these as a reminder each day. These are accountability partners for me. They gave everything for this freedom that I enjoy today, and I am a turd. And I wake up being selfish. And unless I see something like this or have a buddy looking me in the eye each day that'll make me accountable for the better virtues I swore to live by, then I'll forget and I become a product of my stupid environment and do stupid things. And so I'm thankful for this sacrifice, a reminder to try harder to not be as much of a turd every day.
It seems so simple in hindsight, doesn't it?
I mean, if you could repeat that whole statement again and you're like, yeah, like, why aren't we doing this, right?
Yeah.
You know, I had a guy, Gary from Arizona, a good friend of mine, and Hope and Gary, they're two great individuals, and Gary made a statement or a comment on my podcast. We were filming in Cabo. It was on location in Cabo, and his statement was so simple. And he goes, if we all just helped one person,
We'd all be helped.
we'd all be fucking helped. And you know, my mom listens to the show, and I love you, Mom. And she hates when I curse, and hate's a strong word, but she hates when I curse. She's like, your show was so good, but you said fuck. Why did you say that? It's an uneducated word. You didn't need to say it. So, Mom, I apologize. But this story is fucking amazing. But if we all just helped one person, right? And what you're saying is you wake up every morning and you look at the bracelet just like I do, and you go, you know what? The sacrifice. You know, what am I doing today? What am I doing to make a difference for anyone else besides myself? And if we all woke up in the morning and thought like that and had that thought process, today I'm just going to help one person.
Yeah, but our petty little judgments against other people keep us from doing that. We see ourselves as wonderful. We see other people as inferior. But these inferior people are better than us in many ways, and it always happens that way. So I declare a new holiday everywhere I go. So I gave the welcome speech at the welcome banquet the other night.
Okay. Here at the Special Forces Association convention.
Yeah, and I declared a new holiday there for all of us, and it's Hug a Turd Day. Because the one you think you don't like.
That's why I got so many hugs that day. Like, why are all these people hugging me?
Yeah, just do it. Just build a bridge.
That's why
now.
Eve came up and gave me 2 hugs. Like, come on, Eve, what are you doing? No, we love you, Eve, but I guess it was Hug a Turd Day because he declared it, and then you came and hugged me. I appreciate. No, Eve's awesome, and Eve does so much for our community. And I, you know, when I appreciate Hug a Turd Day. Okay, let's continue on that because I was going to tell you all these great things about Eve. You know, she volunteers. She was Volunteer of the Year at the VFW. Obviously, you know, she has ties in the veteran community. Her father, who recently passed away, was a veteran. He did a lot for the VFW, but she continues on that legacy. And you know what? She doesn't have to do that shit.
And see what a great example.
She doesn't have to do any of that, but she does.
The support networks we have are everything. We don't survive without them. And in fact, none of us is really great on our own merits because someone had to nurture us and found us to get us to a place where we could leave the home with that kind of confidence and strength. And so many of us tough guys, we wouldn't be tough at all if we didn't know Mama would pat us on the head when we got home. You know,
so fucking true.
Or pick up our dirty drawers that we leave on the floor.
Yeah.
We wouldn't have clean clothes to put on if we didn't have someone in our support network loving us and taking care of us. And so sometimes we drink the Kool-Aid. There's so many bumper stickers out there that say, I support the troops, or I back the blue, in parentheses, don't give me a ticket. At the end of the day, we should not.
Justin wanted to make a comment. He's like, I've got nothing. You win.
We should really reconsider believing that we are the picture of service, because service starts way before we could do these jobs we do as guardians of freedom. Because real service, that belongs to Mama.
Right.
Because she's up through the night, sick, tired, hungry, injured. None of that matters. She's wiping our butts for us. And she doesn't get any credit. Apparently, it's a minimum standard, although most of us will never care for another human that way.
It's true.
And so I just think we should all be humble enough, emotionally and intellectually, to recognize. Donald Rumsfeld told me that wisdom can't even begin in your life until a precise moment. He said, wisdom in your life will begin at the precise moment that you recognize you don't know shit.
For those of you who didn't hear the beginning of that was just him and Donald Rumsfeld talking. Justin's over there scratching his head going, holy shit.
Well, I had a very unique opportunity to talk to him for about 3 hours. But it was, I was under duress. He forced me to drink whiskey and smoke cigars the whole time.
That's a whole nother podcast, and I love it. You know what? We jumped right into it. We just started unpacking, and I think it's amazing. But I do want to back up a little bit if we can, Justin. Can we do that?
It's your show.
Yeah, no, but I mean, it's actually his show.
I'm over here reading the book, so you continue on.
Yeah. So you want to be a Green Beret? You're 19 years old. You go in the Army. Walk me through that process.
Well,
because this is way before, obviously, you injured in Afghanistan, extremely injured. Basically, looking at those pictures, I can't believe you're alive.
Right.
So let's, happy birthday to you. Right?
Yeah, it's good. It's good. I mean, even though, you shouldn't forget to duck at the end of your career. It just proves you were untrainable the whole time.
Where'd this guy come from?
I know, right? Are you fucking kidding me? So you're 19 years old and you're gonna you want to be a Green Beret or you want to go in the Army?
Well, I didn't know Green Beret yet.
Okay.
I couldn't picture myself.
Rambo.
No, Rambo was the big draw. My dad was in the Navy.
Okay.
And I really hurt his feelings by joining the Army. I really, really did.
What did he do in the Navy, if you mind me asking?
He was aviation electronics.
Okay, yeah. Aviation.
And he had been burned aboard a carrier during the Vietnam conflict. There was a fire when they were working on an aircraft, and he spent a year in hospitals with those burns. And I'll never forget him looking at me and saying, "Son, what's wrong with my Navy?" And I'm like,
right?
I'm like, "Dad, I'm really sorry, but 9 months on a ship, like all the time, I like girls too much for that."
Justin's not going to say anything.
and the decisions of a teenage boy.
Yeah.
I mean, you think about what are the real criteria for making a decision at that age.
Yeah.
And it had more to do with girls and Rambo than it did real service or real anything at all.
Yeah, because and I say this, and I apologize for interrupting, but I want to share this. When you take the oath, I did. 98% of the people in this convention, 99, have done that same oath. You don't really understand that oath until later. Correct statement, right?
Oh, your definitions have to evolve in order to survive the experience.
So people will say to me, "It's like, oh, thank you for taking the oath." And when you, how did you feel when you took it? I was like, well, I knew I was getting a haircut real fucking quick.
Yeah.
I mean, that sounds like a dick statement, but that was the truth. I was like, yeah, I just raised my right hand, but I ran through it. But I can tell you now, when I look back at it, I'm very honored and thankful I had the opportunity to do that.
I agree with you. And what's jumping in my mind right now, I'm so glad you said that. Think right now, what would our definitions have been when we were 18, 19 for these words? Service, commitment, courage. Are those definitions the same now for us? Do we see those words the same way? Do we know how to live up to any of them any better than we did then? I hope so.
I hope so.
but we couldn't hold on to what our definitions were then and be successful. Those definitions had to evolve and grow for us to be able to live up to them and be decent people.
Decent humans.
Yes.
Yeah. Help one person. And when I say that, everyone, Justin, because I love him and he's helping people all the time. Believe me when I say that. He's shaking his head over there. You can't see him because he never wants to be on camera. But when we go back to that statement or that oath or those key words that are building blocks of a human, right? We think about what we say and what we do. The difference at an 18-year-old or a 17-year-old or a 19-year-old compared to a 40 or a 50 or an individual who has a side of his body blown off. Shit changes and it puts it in perspective real fucking quick.
It better.
It has to.
It better change. And like I said, no one ever taught me to surrender, right? You never surrender.
Right.
But, yeah, maybe we should consider it because we're not tough enough. We're just not tough enough.
We're human.
No, there's two kinds of people. There's people who think they're tough, and there's those of us who've been tested already and we know better.
Say that again. That's good.
Two kinds of people. There's people who think they're tough, and then there's those people who have been tested already and we know better. So
that's solid.
No, we're not. The only thing that makes us tough is the really mushy stuff that we try to stay away from as men usually.
Yeah.
That's the only stuff that can sustain you when it gets really hard. That's the only thing that's going to allow for our survival. Because really, when we're born into this world, we're shitting on ourselves and pissing on ourselves and slobbering on ourselves. And it takes mama or someone like her to keep us from dying in our own infection. If life goes perfectly on this planet, then we sail through the years and decades into a romantic sunset of life. And now we're shitting on ourselves again. And it's going to take the nurturing care of someone better than us to keep us from dying once again. So how tough really are we? And to say that we don't need anybody is just, it's false.
And for anyone that just happened to just turn this on YouTube or any of the other channels that we're on, and you just started listening like 3 minutes ago, this is Greg, retired Green Beret, E7, 23 years active duty, blown up in Afghanistan, dropping some fucking knowledge. It's a fact. Justin. Yeah.
It's just not.
Justin's got to say something. Look at him. He's fucking speechless.
I am speechless.
He's my Google. He fact checks everything for me. And there's no fact checking here because the facts are right in front of me.
Well, I love you for doing this. There's a reason that I'm talking the way I am right now. And today on this podcast, it's because of your sincerity and the way you greeted me. You were very disarming, both of you. You were a little more of a stoic asshole.
A turd, as you might say.
Yeah. But I think you see so many people, and you have a technical responsibility here, and
Correct.
You can't get personal on the front end because I'm just another Joe processing through. That's fine, but
it was actually probably more. He wants to make sure I don't fuck everything up, and he's like,
Sure.
Don't touch this and don't touch that, Darin.
And push the record button.
Yeah, and push the record button. Yeah.
But see, it's a strong professional element that you lead with. But now seeing that you're human, I feel relief because I really wanted you to like me, and I think there's a chance now.
We're good.
Yeah, we're more than good. We're more than good. Where do you currently reside?
I live in Maine.
In Maine. Where in Maine?
Yeah, Rockland,
Maine. So I'm from Plattsburgh, New York, up in the Adirondacks.
Okay.
Yeah. So
beautiful.
I went to a concert years ago. I was actually at the time I was in the Coast Guard. I just got in, and back in '94, '95. Don't quote me on this, but I went up to a Fish concert, and I wasn't a Fish fan by the band, but
I bet you're still not.
I'm still correct. I'm still not. I've listened to a whole different genre of music. But anyway, a bunch of my friends were going up, and I was stationed in Boston. Okay. And so this is a main story, and they're probably going to cut this out because people are like, no one gives a shit about this, Darin. But I'm like, hey, I'll meet you guys at this concert. It was in north of Bangor, which is very, very north of. It was called in Calais, Maine.
Okay.
which is on the Canadian border. So we drive up and we're driving, and I sound like I'm being repetitive, but we were driving for fucking hours because Maine's a huge state. Yes. And then we were running out of places to stop, and we needed gas, and we finally stopped at this one gas station, and we're like, oh, we should grab some beer and some ice while we get gas because, we've got a little bit further to go. And it was completely empty. Nothing in there. So we get gas and we're like, hey, where's the ice? Where's the beer? And this lady, super nice lady from Maine, says to me, she goes, everyone's going to this concert up in northern Maine. And she goes, this is the last stop before you get up there.
Oh, wow.
And I'm like, where the fuck are we? But Maine is a beautiful, that's not even a good story, right, Justin? Justin shaking his head. Why did you share that? I share
Let's
that.
let him talk.
Yeah.
No.
It's your show.
No.
Yeah, you know what? I'm gonna go back to you're 19 years old. You want to be a Green Beret. You're in the Army, and then what makes you go to selection?
Well, the first thing that happened really was my recruiter lied to me.
That's surprising.
I know, right?
I've never heard that story.
No, he told me they would turn me into Rambo if I joined the infantry, and be a short time and I would be Rambo and I'd, go defeat the world's bad guys, come back and brief the president. No, I still had a shitty mop in my hand a couple of years later. So then I saw a poster, for Green Berets, and I was in the dining facility one day, and there was a dude in front of me in the chow line, and he was short. I'm an average guy. I'm only 5'9", right?
You're tall.
This guy was short in front of me, and he had long hair, and it was out of regs, right?
Right.
And I'm thinking to myself, this is one of these on-the-spot corrections that we're trained to make. Oh. Because leadership begins with each one of us, and standards reside in all of us.
I'm already seeing what happens here. Oh, continue. Please do. Please do.
So
hey, buddy.
And I'm getting my courage up. I'm going to tell this guy, hey, you're really not doing us a favor with your hair, that long. And I didn't get a chance to touch him on the shoulder or anything. He turned to the side to look at something, and there was this patch on his shoulder that went all the way from one end to the other, and I'd never seen it. What in the... And it actually had words on it. It said Special Forces. I'm like, what in the world? And then I just studied him, and I was staring at him. I wanted to know what kind of food he would pick, and I wondered why. Why would you get that? Okay, maybe I should eat that.
Maybe I should eat that.
Yeah.
Maybe I should eat that soupy corn.
So, and then
That's
it was
real,
sealed.
Dustin.
And then it was sealed. I went and looking back at it now, it feels, it looks in my mind as a reflection of that time. When I went to try out for Special Forces, it felt like I was knocking on an aquarium full of sharks, asking if I could get in and swim with them.
Right.
And then for the next 20 years, I was swimming with sharks, praying not to bleed. Because the same things that make us uber aggressive and strong and competent can make us assholes to each other.
Right.
And we eat our own,
Yeah.
Show any weakness at all. Look at our social media. Someone slips up and says something at all, oh my gosh, there's blood in the water. Yep. So we're cruel to each other in those ways.
Right.
But there I went.
Yeah, here you are in the mess hall, and you're like, you know what? I'm going to eat the corn because old homeboy that has the Special Forces.
That's right.
Yeah, so you're trying to follow in his footsteps in your mind.
Yeah, but I didn't have any examples in my life. I didn't know anyone who had been a Green Beret.
Right. So you sign up for selection.
I did. In November '92, I wound up in selection. And
so this is 4 years after you've already been in.
Yep.
About.
Yep.
'Cause you went in '88.
That's correct.
Right.
And I had been infantry.
Right. And you mentioned this earlier, but just for the audience, if they're just popping in now, this is a time of peace.
Yes.
Globally-ish, we say that, and I say that because in Special Forces, there's a lot of operations that happen around the world during time of peace.
Absolutely.
But for the public, we weren't in a major conflict.
Right.
Is that fair to say?
It is fair to say.
Okay.
But if we're going to say that, then on that note, you were in the Coast Guard, brother.
Correct.
And I have supreme respect for the Coast Guard because
Thank you.
That's the only branch that has a real mission every day.
Thank you.
And no one even has any idea because you guys are doing your jobs, feeding your families and shutting up about it. But you guys do more enforcement along our coast than our law enforcement does. Even with our fisheries management, the Coast Guard is leading the way, making sure that we have a resource for tomorrow. And you guys keep more drugs out of this country than anybody I know. So thank you for your service.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. And a shout out to the Coast Guard. Much love back to you, obviously. And we could probably have a whole show about the Coast Guard, but that's a whole nother episode. But as coming from a 23-year retired Green Beret, that's very kind. Thank you.
Yeah, one hand washes the other, and
Yeah.
if I've learned anything at all, being a guardian for this country, this place, this freedom. And Posse Comitatus, prevents federal forces from acting inside, our domestic land. If you fight for this country and then you come home, if you're not humbled, then you're stupid.
Right.
Because we may do a lot to make sure that freedom exists and survives, but the quality of our freedom has nothing to do with the military. The quality of this freedom starts at Fort Living Room every day. And you look at law enforcement, you look at next time you drive through Burger King and you're paying $1 for a cheeseburger and you're bitching that something came out wrong with it, start thinking about your freedom and start thinking about the fabric of that freedom and what it's woven by. It's the details. It's the images, the landscape of America that's around us every day, and everybody doing what they do.
Yeah.
That completes that. It's not us. We shouldn't take too much credit.
Yeah. That's well said. Right, Justin?
Never heard it better.
Yeah. I've got a small example, and then Justin's going to tell me, stop telling my stories, but I just got back from Southeastern Asia, and I was in the grocery store, and the lady in front of me was buying a gallon of milk, and she's yelling at this girl who's probably 14 or 15 years old at the cash register, and she's mad because and I'm making up the price. It was $2.40, but she charged her $2.70, some bullshit, and this lady's fucking freaking out. She's yelling at the cash register girl, and I'm just sitting there thinking, I just got back in the country. I had no electricity. I was living in a fucking jungle, and I couldn't get a gallon of milk. And you're bitching to this poor girl who's trying to make her life better. We don't know her story. And she could be supporting her fucking mom and her grandfather living in a 1-bedroom apartment with 9 people. We don't know. So just buy your fucking milk and get out of the store.
It comes down to empathy. We lack empathy. And you saw how bad I was wounded, right?
Yeah.
Let me tell you one of the...
Yeah, and everyone's going to see it.
Let me tell you one of the biggest things that I've had to learn. See, at first, I was the big victim, and, whoa, no one's ever been hurt like this and lived, and woe is me. And we can get competitive with our misery. Oh, yeah, who's got it worse? And we love that game, don't we? Oh, that's nothing. You should have seen. And look, there's been times people said to me, people have said, oh, bro, that's nothing. I got a buddy that got 3 Purple Hearts. And I'm like, he should consider a different job.
Someone actually said that to you.
Yes.
It's wild to me.
No, it's been said 2 or 3 times, and it's like, whoa, bro, I could only sustain 1.
Yeah. Bummed out that they gave me this one. I wish I didn't earn it.
And so empathy for me,
wild.
empathy had to come if I was going to live well with and among others. I had to begin to understand that everything is relative to our condition and our experience. If a hangnail is the worst pain you ever felt in your life, it sucks, right? And so what's the sum of our understanding, our comprehension for suck? If all you have is this, then it really does suck.
Right.
And so we have to be more empathetic with people because bad is bad, fear is scary, and pain hurts. And I think that I was putting myself on the suck pedestal for a while, and it's wrong. It's not effective, and it not only contributes to solutions as I go, but it keeps me from building the kinds of relationships with people that I want to have.
It's solid. There's so many good messages here. Justin, are you fucking kidding me? Yeah, he's speechless. He's never speechless.
Well, he's not used to having turds like me on here.
Well, and yesterday you announced it's Hug a Turd Day. Where is Eve? Eve's still here. She can come hug us all. So you're now a Green Beret. You make it through selection. You're what, E4, E5?
E5.
Yeah. Is that a standard? You have to be an E5 to...
At the time, you had to be promotable to E5. You had to be promotable to sergeant to even try out.
Yeah, so that's interesting. So when I was on the teams in the Coast Guard in the DSF program, deployable specialized forces, chasing the coke guys as we call it. Back then you had to be an E5 too, but that's all changed. The military has changed their regulations, and then people say, "Oh, I was an E4 when I did." I'm like, I believe you.
And that was another point of ego for me, was that I was in the last hard class when we had real standards, and you had to be, you want to talk about thinking outside the box. It helps to know what's in it first. So, and then came the 18 X-ray program after 9/11, where we really needed more Green Berets.
And share with the audience what the 18 X-ray program is, if you don't mind.
They changed the standards. We needed a lot more Green Berets to be able to sustain this fight against Al Qaeda, the Taliban,
right?
And so the recruiting effort for Green Berets had to get bigger, and so we allowed. Thank you so much, son.
Thank you, buddy.
So we started allowing candidates to come in right off the street, no military experience, and an 18 X-ray contract meant that if you went to basic training at your AIT, Airborne School, Special Forces Selection, and the Q course, your first job in the Army would be on an A team as a Green Beret.
I feel like that's not safe.
So we call it the pipeline of training.
Yeah.
And if they can make it,
I feel like it's too expedited.
Well, it is expedited. And one of my turds, when I was an instructor, one of my turds in the Special Operations Preparatory course is here at the convention. And he wound up having this amazing career as a warfighter. And it's just so validating to see that. But at the time, I didn't respect the notions, and we called them SF babies, Special Forces babies, because I had no experience. And the command really didn't like that. And so, check this out. I go home, and the lady in my life at the time was listening to me bitch about it. And she said, "Hold on, wait, we were just at the museum last week, and you were telling me about the history of Special Forces and how during Vietnam, if you were drafted, you couldn't be a Green Beret. You had to volunteer. And then they went all the way through their training and right into Vietnam as a Green Beret. And those are your heroes," I thought.
Oh, shit.
And I'm like, really? Well, you're civilian. Your opinion doesn't count.
Yeah, I'm not listening to you.
And
Fuck logic.
Yeah, fuck logic.
And the next opportunity, I went to my command sergeant major and I said, "Hey, Sergeant Major, we're all complaining about this SF baby program. But the bottom line is it's been pointed out to me by my girlfriend that these are going to be our teammates in battle. And I'd rather be there with them making a difference than being here complaining about them. So can I go be a part of that training?" And he sent me.
Yeah.
The next week I was an instructor for these turds. And it was great because at the time I had joined the military because I wanted to be Rambo.
Right.
But these kids joined the military to get in a fight that could kill them. And I had to accept that even the generational judgment that we like to cast, because let's face it, there's never been a senior generation that approves of the junior generation.
Correct.
Ever.
And so they have no respect. They have no discipline. They could never do what we had to do to get to where we are.
Yeah. Walk uphill both ways in snow.
And
And our future is doomed if that's what we got to count on for the future. But from inside the military, I witnessed this amazing force stepping up, standing up, and they proved that they love their country just as much as we do. They proved they were every bit as courageous, even more because they joined in a time of war.
Yeah.
So here we are, just eating humble pie every day, man.
Yeah. Just eating humble pie. There's so many good messages.
Yeah.
So you're in the Army. You're 10 years, 12 years in, because 88, 98. Let's go 13, 14 years. The war, we start a new war. 2002, 2003. 9/11 happens in 2001, and you're headed to Afghanistan. You're at E6, E7 at this point, and you're leading a team. You're on a team.
I volunteered to join a team that needed help. They were a little short going into a combat mission, and they had a very defined role in Operation Medusa, which became the Battle of Spurwingar for us. And there are documentaries about that. I think the Discovery Channel did 2 different documentaries on that battle. So I volunteered, and I told my family I wouldn't. But I told you about these new kids, these 18 X-rays off the street. Now, I had trained a whole bunch of them, and they made it into Special Forces, and I wind up in Kandahar, Afghanistan, and these 3 turds are running towards me across the dirt. And when they get close to me, Sarge, I can't believe you're here. This is awesome. Hey, we need you. We need you on this mission. Can you go? And
how can you say no?
So immediately I remembered being on the podium before them, talking to them about the courageous decisions they'll need to make, and then pushing them through training in the woods and everything, telling them what it's really going to be like. And then I'm going to say, actually, no, guys, I don't want to go. How do you do that?
You don't.
No. So I had an obligation, clearly, and it made me happy. It made my heart happy that I had put these guys through so much, and they still wanted me to be there.
Right. No, that's so good. It's so true. You the people you trained and, for lack of a better word, abused.
Yes.
And were, maybe a little aggressive towards.
Yes.
That you think that they're never going to want to talk to you ever again. And out of respect, they come to you and say, come with us, man.
And
we need you.
And it wound up being a different student of mine that I flunked and hated, Riley Stevens, that saved my life on the battlefield. And suddenly he wasn't a turd in my mind anymore when he saved my life. Suddenly he was this great hero.
Right.
But he had been the whole time. But what does a hero look like?
Right.
Bro, can you point him out?
Yeah, there's one across from me.
No. The heroes are the guys who didn't come home, because they really gave it all. I'm still a work in progress, and I think most of us are. Yeah.
Well said.
You are.
Yeah. Well said.
You're awesome, man.
Yeah.
Really.
Well, thank you. Thank you.
I think more of our guys need to spend a minute with you.
I appreciate that.
Because I think we fail in areas. So we say that our technical and tactical proficiency is what we need to save the day and be victorious. And we never see anything beyond that. We just do it and do it and do it. But no one trains us that our hearts and our minds have to go through that door with us. And until there's something in our training that better addresses seeing a dead child on the floor or having your buddy's brain matter on your vest, then we're not ready. And we got guys killing themselves all the time because we're not adept at dealing with our hearts and minds. And your weapon, your radio, your body armor, all that'll be in the same shape when you leave that battle space. But your heart and your mind have to go with you, and they'll never be in the same shape again. And I find the way you're doing this, the way you run this podcast is good at tuning people in to their hearts and to their minds. And you have a very indirect way of reaching people. So I appreciate it.
And thank you. I appreciate you. Yeah, it's very kind words.
It's true.
Yeah.
It's true.
Thank you.
I talk to a lot of people, and I know some people want to dig right into something that's emotional and get a sound bite, and it doesn't work. But your sincerity shows.
Thank you.
And you got a great guy over here.
Yeah, Justin's a good dude.
He is.
And Eve's still somewhere around here. She's amazing. I do want to talk about your book a little bit, if you don't mind. I know we're probably past the time. I know you're extremely busy, but if you wouldn't mind staying on a little longer.
Sure.
Conquer Anything, which again we're going to put this on the screen. However, the smart kids do that these days. I don't know how it works. But what made you write the book?
I was asked over and over if I would do it.
Right.
The first thing that happened is everyone kept asking me to come speak to their group or their staff or their team, and they wanted to hear this story of courage and survival and resilience and blah, blah, blah. And gosh, what they wanted to hear was all about me. And I really got tired of me, and I got tired of the same story, and I felt like a fraud because I know the truth. That the best stories are from the guys who don't talk about it or the ones who died. And there was an executive at Burger King or Stanley Steamer, because both of them approached me. I can't remember which one did first, but they asked me, they said, given your experience and all this, there's got to be some leadership stuff that you have to offer. Team dynamic stuff, leadership. And I'm like, I'm not your guy. I'm kind of an underachiever that way. Because really, at 23,
yeah.
23 years,
self-proclaimed underachiever.
Stilly 7. I was never shooting for the stars. I wanted an identity. I wanted meaning in my life and purpose. But I resented people that were there just to get a high rank. I never got along with that idea. A lot of the people in charge were promoted because they looked great on paper, but they didn't know how to deal with people. I don't know. I thought I was smarter than I was.
Right.
And if I could go back, inspiring people wouldn't be making yourself bigger. Inspiring people is making yourself as small as you possibly can. And if I really gave a shit that much about leadership and the system overall that I was going to be so critical of my leaders, then I should have done more to be involved. I should have, if I thought I had that much to offer, why didn't I work on being promoted so that I could make a difference?
Right.
And it's because I was serving myself, not the greater interests.
And that's an everyday GSD message right there, if you really think about it, right?
Yeah. So we should all be in the business of putting ourselves out of business. Give it all away, or you're just serving yourself.
Yeah.
Because if we care about a mission, if we care about anything at all, we have to leave it in a condition to where it can still function without us. But we all seem to think we're it, don't we?
Well said. Yeah. Justin, you got anything?
Well, you couldn't have the show without me, so.
I just had to grab a shirt for you. So this is an everyday GSD shirt. First of all, I want to say a couple thank yous. Excuse me. And thank you to you. And your son's name is?
Gregory.
Gregory. Why didn't I know that?
Gregory Jr.
Thank you for listening to this and listening to your dad. And I have so many positive things to say. I'm speechless. I guess I'll just leave it at that. You know what? I'm honored. I'm honored that you're on the show. But I think most importantly, I want the listeners to understand the ability and the power that they have as humans can only be reached if they put the effort into it, right? You share an amazing message, and I'm going to reference Green Beret, 23 years. You retired. You were wounded in combat action. But all of that has you share a story today, and the message is, and I don't want to dumbify this because this I don't want to sound like I'm doing that, but the message is very simple. That you have a message that you went through a career in the military at an extremely high level operating, and you talk about individuals that were beneath you, quote unquote, that saved your life. And today you look back and go, if I was to make a change, this is what I would do. And if we all in life look at that, and I go back to, my friends Gary and Hope that were on the show in Cabo, if we can just help one person, right?
That's it. And
I mean,
I want to be able to better surrender in my life to better virtues, and do the thing that's harder to do than anything in Special Forces ever was, and that's to love people in any environment. I've never been able to do that, and I'm working on it.
Thank you. And thank you for being on the show. I have this little gift for you. We're going to take some pictures after. Just an everyday GSD t-shirt right here. I want you to wear this shirt and know that you've been getting shit done for year after year after year for many, many years. But when you wear this shirt, I want you just to reflect on our conversation, because you're changing lives when you speak, and you probably don't even know the impact that you're having on the individuals that are listening, including myself and Justin. And I want to thank you. And I don't want to just say thank you for your service. I want to thank you for being the human that you are.
Thank you very much, brother.
Thank you. Thanks for watching the Everyday GSD podcast. Episodes come out on the 1st and 15th of the month. If you want to watch people or listen to people that Everyday GSD, please download and subscribe wherever you listen or watch the Everyday GSD podcast. Everyday GSD.